that's cool. So I've only just got these $800 each. No, I'm kidding. It's
Could have easily passed for $800, mate. Looks pretty fancy.
yeah. So as I say, like with Hendo's one, like we just had this conference mic in the front, and it worked. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to step it up and get look a little bit more professional and stuff.
No, that's good, mate.
Thanks heaps for doing this, man. Like it's awesome to get in front of you and chew the fat. So we've just come off the Trans-Tasman, man. Like it must be pretty weird playing today.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite interesting coming from Trans-Tasman to playing club nationals, but absolutely love it. You know, I mean, you've always got a target on your back as well. Like everyone wants to bring you down, and especially Central. Like, I mean, I don't think anyone likes Central, so we've always got a target on our back. And
makes you say that, man.
Oh, jeez, you know, mate.
I thought it used to be for Harbour. I thought nobody liked Harbour.
Well, no one likes Harbour, but well, no one likes teams that win, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably why. So take it as a compliment.
Sure, man. Sure. So, you know, like I had the pleasure of being down there. Obviously, I had the best seat in the house. I think it's just amazing. And like, what are your thoughts after that? Like, you know, what were you feeling afterwards, and the whole come down, and was it like going back to work on Monday morning? And
oh, mate, I'll be perfectly honest with you. It was shit. It was. You know, you come back from a holiday and you've got that kind of post-holiday blues. This was almost even worse. You know, knowing of the result as well. You know, you're always up in all the emotion and all the intensity and the adrenaline and everything like that, and you're surrounded by your mates, and you're there for a whole week, and you're always working toward this common goal. And then all of a sudden, you don't get the result you want, and you're going to come back to reality of going back to work. You just feel so flat. You know, and I just felt. It was hard. It was really hard. I mean, I'm really glad that we've got the club nationals now, because you can kind of get back up for it. But yeah, really hard to get back to reality, man. Really hard.
It's funny, even when you're on those tours, and then within those big events, you're even when you're relaxing, you're still up.
Yeah.
You don't realise it. You think you're relaxing.
Yeah,
you
totally,
think you think you're even sleeping well, but you're actually your adrenaline, your nerves are always constantly up. Your focus and that's even after club tournaments and stuff like that. You know, it's just that come down afterwards, and the next day you're at work and you wish you were back on court as sore as you were, or you wish you were back in that environment watching some cool cricket.
Well, that was it. Like, I mean, you'd play a game 8:30, you'd finish maybe 10. You can't get to bed till like midnight, 1 o'clock, because you're just so wired, you know, and you're constantly going over and over and what you could have done better. I mean, I think most players are like that, but for me, myself, I'm really hard on myself. So after every game, like, I'm going to go over it and mull over it. And now, because it's all streamed, you can look back at what you could have done better. You just can't. I guess you can escape it, but you can't really detach yourself away when you're in camp and you're surrounded by the guys, and you know you've got this Trans-Tasman where you know every game means something. You know, you can't really kind of switch off as much as you try to. You know, but
it's beautiful that streaming now.
Oh, mate, it's fantastic.
How cool
is it? Fantastic. It's
like,
fantastic.
We're able to watch the Aussie boys before they come over, and you're able to see what they do and how good they are. And it's just amazing. You get in touch with those personalities in a way, and you know the names when they come over, and you know a bit about them. And it's so cool how Australia are doing what they're doing, and World Indoor Cricket are really pushing that whole streaming service rather than using conventional television services and stuff, Sky Sports and there, which just costs so much money to do. Well, I remember in the 2002 World Cup in Wellington, Sky Sport did that. Martin Crowe actually organised. Well, he didn't organise it, but he was a part of it. Him and Andre were the commentary team in that. And they all set themselves up at Wellington Indoor there.
Because you're commentating there as well.
No, I was playing 2002.
Oh, 2002. Sorry.
Yeah. So that was really cool how they did that, and all the big massive cameras that they have. I mean, now they use these small little Sony or Panasonic things, but these big massive cameras with the lenses. It was amazing, and they put perspex screens in the nets, so behind the bowler. They had perspex screens sewn into the net to tighten it back up, so they could get the clear view, and had all these windows around the net. You know, but now the cameras, I suppose, they just zoom it in through the net.
Well, I remember the first time I witnessed a camera at indoor was down in Hornby. I think it was a Tri-Series final. I think it was. Down there. I can't remember what year it was, but that's the first time I ever saw kind of cameras involved in indoor cricket.
You're right.
And I was streamed somewhere. I don't know, but I don't know where or when, but
Crazy.
but yeah, to see how far we've come now, which is awesome. Great for the sport. You know, I think back obviously 2014 in Wellington, where they showed it on Sky, or they showed a replay on Sky.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't very pretty
Yeah,
watching, but
no.
but it's cool. I mean, just to see how far we've come and how far the game's evolved, it's great. And now they're streaming it. You can kind of access it wherever you are. And
I think that you know, when you look back on 14, okay, the final didn't turn out the way that I guess everyone had prepared for, but the semi-final especially was an amazing game of indoor against South Africa.
Yeah.
You guys were sick. You had a lot of sick bodies, injured bodies.
Yeah.
Hendo's
Achilles,
injury in that match. You were down to 7 at that stage. Did someone have to bat twice in that? Did you guys field first?
It's funny because everyone, you think about big games and what you can remember about certain games and everything like that, but honestly, for every game that I play, it's almost a blur. Like, it just happens so quickly and it's so intense and it's so hard to kind of recall all these little kind of things that happen in the game. I can't remember it vividly, but yeah, I think we were chasing. No. Oh, see, here we go. Case in point, I can't actually remember.
No.
All I can remember is I remember Hendo, his Achilles going.
I heard this.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I heard this, like, it sounded like a gunshot, right? Just walking around, and then he just went pale, you know, and I just couldn't believe what had happened. And then he'd gone off. It was just crazy, the whole thing, what happened and how it eventuated. But that was such a hard semi-final. That's all I remember. Is obviously Hendo doing his Achilles, and then just how tough it was, because the South Africans, you know, they run on emotion, you know, and they love getting stuck in.
They had some amazing, couple of really quick bowlers in that unit too, man. They were super quick.
Really good cricketers. So to get through that, obviously, that was fantastic, considering everything we went through in 2014, where people had the flu and people were injured and all that sort of stuff. And obviously Lee, you know, who was captain at the time, you know, he did his calf. So heaps of adversity, you know. So to get through that semi was brilliant. And then the final, we're all up for it, but unfortunately we just didn't play that well. And they played extremely well, so you can't afford to do that.
They batted extremely well, and Rhys Dennis decided to bowl a peach of a first over, and unfortunately that was it. So in my first podcast with Matt, I sort of very briefly broached on the Achilles thing. I didn't really want to go there too much with him because of injuries and setbacks for him in his career. And he's such a big tournament player. When he plays, he plays to the level. He's someone that really, every time he plays a higher team, he plays better cricket. And for New Zealand, he's just been amazing. I don't think people, you know, maybe it'll happen after he retires and after he truly gives the game up. And people really appreciate how good he is, man. Agreed. He is super good, and he's got some really interesting takes on indoor, and it's a little bit different than other people. I love that, because it's boring if everyone just thinks the same thing.
Out the box thinking, right? I mean, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results,
right? Well, he's not afraid. He's not afraid to get things wrong. He'll experiment with something, and if it's not quite right, you go, hey, at least I had a shot at that and see how it went, and he'll evolve from it, you know. And I think that's an amazing way to get there.
We've got it to lose doing that, you know what I mean? Exactly and I'm always for, you know, extending yourself and being a better cricketer, you know, and if you can kind of explore different avenues, why not?
I agree. So we've talked about post Trans-Tasman. I want to talk about, I really want to get an insight into your preparation for this series. When did it start?
To be honest, it started as soon as I got selected for the Singapore tour. So,
but you knew you were going to go on that, right?
Well, I mean, you never want to take it for granted, but you know, every time you know, without sounding too cliche, every time you get selected, you know, it's always an honour. It's a massive honour, you know. Absolutely is. And I think we're fortunate enough now. We've got maybe 20, 25 players that could play at that level. You know, a handful of players that are really good. They compete at the highest level, which is fantastic. I don't think we've had that depth for a long time. But sorry, I'm going on a slight tangent. But when I first got selected for the Singapore tour, naturally you want to perform your very best every time you play. But I always had the Trans-Tasman in the back of my mind, knowing that that was going to be a stronger competition. So it was really weird training for indoor before the season. You know what I mean?
It's new to us, right?
Yeah, that was really odd, knowing that we were going away in April, but we had to train, you know, before the actual season had started. So obviously did really well there. Won it, all that sort of stuff. Played pretty well as well. Then, like I said, back in my mind, I always knew Australia. And that's how you kind of gauge how well you're doing as a player, as a team as well, I feel, when you're against the best in the world. So it started back then when I was playing against Singapore and that competition. But when we came back and we got selected for the Trans-Tasman side, 3-4 times a week, bowling machine, throwdowns, bowling. For me, bowling was a massive thing.
What did you work on with the bowling?
Rhythm's a big thing for me. I knew this might not affect many people, but for me, the run-ups were shorter at Palmerston North. So I really struggled at provincials.
That would affect me big time.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to bowl express like I usually do. So being
sort of strike bowler,
sort of strike bowler, mate. So I'll flick you $100 later, mate.
Thanks,
mate. But I
earned that, bitch.
Yeah. So yeah, the shorter run-up, that really screwed with me. So I had to, when we left provincials, I actually went back after the tournament. No one was at the centre, and I was marking out the distance between the crease and the net, and take that back to central where we train. And I just kept bowling off there, getting the rhythm, and just figuring out a plan as to how I'm going to bowl, as opposed to just going, all right, I'm just going to bowl at their legs. It's such a vast kind of plan, and I think we've been guilty of that in the past, of just going, all right, let's just hit them there and bowl and hope, as opposed to like at the top of your mark, this is what I'm going to bowl, and just commit 100% to it. And probably just a mindset change, like a massive paradigm shift for me as to when I've got the ball in my hand at the top of my mark. This is what I'm going to execute. This is what I'm trying to execute, and just commit 100%. And I've probably been a bit guilty in the past of just going, okay, I'm going to try and bowl it and hope I get there, and probably just relied on my batting to get me through.
Sure.
And if I'm being perfectly honest with me, that's not good enough if you want to be the best player in the world, or you want to win a World Cup. You don't want to have any weaknesses. You want to make sure you're a well-rounded cricketer, batting, bowling, and fielding. So that was my biggest thing, and I knew against Australia, you're going to get found out, if you fall short in any of those kind of aspects. So batting, I always thought I could hold my own, but I always wanted to improve. And I think the game's evolved now where it's not just putting it up in the springs. I think it's a matter of going, all right, if it's there, put it away. You're trying to score as many runs as you can off every ball. So I'm not necessarily trying to hit a 7, but if it's there, you got to back yourself and train under pressure. So using a half bat, batting against a bowling machine where it's quick and it's swinging, just making yourself so uncomfortable. So then when you do face good bowling, like world-class bowling, it's not foreign to you. And that's what I really wanted to put myself under that pressure in the 6 weeks leading up to that Trans-Tasman. And having the likes of Chanel Sharma, Braden Gardner, Matt Henderson helping me do that was fantastic, because you can just bounce off each other, and you just keep pushing each other.
We used to train with, like for pace, we would used to train with someone serving a tennis ball at you. And if we wanted to get real slick, actually have skinned tennis balls and have guys serve at you. So an average serve, like you and I, if we tried to serve as hard as we could, would be well over 160 clicks. And so you're never going to face any of that. And if guys start getting a little bit of side on it, so you get a good away swinger going. And it wasn't all about playing amazing shots to that speed. It was about getting used to the being uncomfortable
reactions
and just watching it, seeing it all the way. If it hits you, you get a bit of a slap, and it could hurt you a little bit. It just got you used to seeing that ball, and then you go in and face the fastest bowler in indoor cricket. All of a sudden, you're picking it up. It's a bit slower than what you're thinking. I'm not saying that you'll play amazing shots to them either, but you're just that much more used, and your eyes and your body are more used to seeing that come at you, and so you can deal with it a lot better, right?
Well, that's 100%. Couldn't agree more. And I think I was really lucky. I got to face Braden Gardner heaps in that 6 weeks, and like my legs were black and blue. But I loved it, because I knew if I could face that and I could hit that really well, then the Aussies, they'll have bowlers that are like that. But if I can face Braden with the ball swinging late, then a decent clip, I know I'll be pretty prepared. Add that with bowling machine and throwdowns and spin and whatnot, then you're prepared, just trying to cover every base. So I really felt like I was probably the most prepared I've been in any tournament. Or going into any tournament. So
what about strength and conditioning and gym? So obviously you're a PT. So it's with respect, it's a little bit easier for someone like yourself and your profession to work on your own body as well as helping other people out. So what's your protocol in the gym?
So for me, like especially with indoor, you put your body in a different kind of positions that would usually be in. I mean, you're sometimes upside down against the net, or you're really explosive, and so like a mix of yoga, like love yoga.
Hot yoga.
Have done hot yoga,
wow.
but that takes out. It's 90 minutes long. It's too long.
Yeah,
can't handle 90 minutes. In that
stuffs you up too, man. Apparently,
yeah.
Like it gets you into positions you thought you could hold, and you're like,
mate,
you see these old 70-year-old women in there doing it perfectly.
It's demoralizing, bro. It's demoralizing.
I can't do this.
I remember when I was late to one of the classes, and I tried to get to. You always want to go to the back, because I'm like, I can hardly. For certain reasons, but mainly because I'm really inflexible, so I try and go to the back, so I can't really, no one can see me. But I ended up being late, and everyone would move to the back, so I had to be at the front. I was next to these, they would have been maybe 50, 60-year-old like couple, and they were like pretzels, mate. They had like leg around their head and everything like that, and I was like struggling to touch my toes. But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But yoga, great. Weight training, massive advocate for weight training. Just you've got to have your base strength, but a lot of it glute work. So most people think, bench press, chin ups, all the big, beach muscles, but your glutes and your core. For me, they are your non-negotiables, because for me, my glutes, it's like a suspension to a car. If your glutes aren't firing, there's so many other muscles that have to compensate for that. So for me, my glutes have to be strong. So big powerhouse.
So core,
abs and glutes, and obviously your rotator cuffs, all those little kind of small intricate muscles.
I find what I've seen in guys in the past is when they do start going for those chest muscles and even to the biceps as well, they start getting a lot of tightness across that chest. So guys, especially who are quick bowlers and that, end up losing a lot of their pace because they don't have that flexibility anymore. Great if you're working those muscles, but you also work equally as much on the flexibility, you'll get away with a little bit. But naturally, if you use those muscles more, you start
shorten.
You shorten up those muscles, and so guys do tend to lose a bit through there. A big one for me was always swimming. So when I was 15, 16, I'd be playing 4 or 5 games of indoor a week and then going to play outdoor on a Saturday, and I wasn't very good then, but I got a stress fracture in my lower back, in my lumbar area, and played on it for 6 months because I couldn't stop playing. Oh, you couldn't tell a kid to stop playing.
Totally, I know what you mean.
And so I finally stopped. I went and saw a physio, David Abercrombie, actually. He was a physio in Takapuna. He was amazing, and he was the All Black physio at that stage. And I saw him for a little bit and diagnosed me within 2 minutes, and gave me to one of his associate girls there. It was amazing, and I took 3 months off playing. It was the hardest 3 months. Just had to umpire, and back in those days I used to umpire about 30 games a week, and it was right into it. And started bowling again and just eased my way into it. And over that period I was swimming maybe 3 days a week, maybe 40 lengths. I was useless at the beginning, but just built it up. And it was the best thing I ever did. And I slightly adjusted my action and for the better, just to get myself through. I let my body talk to me. I didn't know this sort of stuff when I was at that age, but I was naturally just going, this isn't hurting, so I'll continue on with it. So really listen to my body, and that's the rest of it's really history.
We had a chat. How long ago now? 3-4 years ago. Remember when you were helping me with my bowling?
Yeah.
And that's what you said. Swimming, a big advocate for that, just because of the mobility through your shoulders. Right?
And it's a similar action. And you're using every muscle through your core, through your lower back, through your glutes, because you're kicking your legs, through your arms and shoulders, you're rotating action. It's amazing. And I got quick from there. That's where I really started to bowl with some real heat, and I've got a lot of strength in my shoulders. I've done pretty much a shoulder bowl, rhythm and shoulder, which is perfect for indoor cricket. And it was amazing. It was such a structure, such almost a blessing that I got that. That got that stress fracture, because I probably wouldn't have done that work. I would have just gone on a whim and hopefully get my body through.
because you've got one of the best actions going around, mate. Like, and I'm like, honestly, it's honestly so nice to watch you bowl, like both ways, cutters. It is,
Thanks,
it honestly is. He hasn't paid me to say this, by the way. Like I've paid him to talk me up about my strike bowling, but watching you bowl is awesome to watch. Just how rhythmical you are. Yeah, I still like you to bowl to me at one stage, but you haven't yet.
Yeah, no, well, you should stop open.
I'll bet myself lower down.
I worked hard. I worked really hard at it, and I think that all those nights that I'd spend after umpiring 3 or 4 games on a Wednesday night at the cricket patch or North Harbour. Back in the day, and bowling 30, 40 deliberate balls while everyone else is up in the bar drinking and all of that. You don't really know it when you do it. All you're doing is really just enjoying it and sort of thinking about, I'll bowl this and I'll bowl that and see how it comes out and bowl this. Just love the whole action, love the whole delivery and the whole releasing the ball as fast as you can and all of that, I guess, sort of paid off. And then I suppose I became really cricket fit bowling fit. While I didn't have the fittest looking body in the world, I became bowling fit because it was indoor and then outdoor and then indoor and then outdoor, and it was season after season after season. I hardly ever, not until now, do I take 6 months off from bowling. And then now I go back to the indoor season. It's quite hard to build up and get into it. It feels so foreign bowling after 5 months off. And you miss it, and you wish you could get back into that rhythm again. You hunger for it.
There's lots to be said about that though, like training specifically for that action, because it is such an unnatural, like biomechanically, it's such an unnatural action to perform. You know what I mean? So there's no better way to train than to actually bowl. So just getting into that rhythm and doing it and doing it and doing it.
I had some great advice from Franklin Rose,
Franklin,
the West Indian opening bowler. He came and played club cricket here in Auckland for maybe about 8 years ago, maybe. And he was amazing, man. Like, lovely guy. He's really, really cool to talk to. And, man, their training was playing cricket. Bowling and bowling and bowling. And there was none of this management of bodies and, you can only bowl 5 overs in a day, loading and all that sort of thing. Like, I sort of do get that. But, I think even New Zealand cricket went through those periods of managing cricketers and getting them strong by getting them in the gym and bulking up and getting strong in all those areas. And I think that there is something to be said for strength and conditioning to help. And I think they're getting a lot better than that now than perhaps where they were 10, 15 years ago. But there's just nothing better to get your body ready to bowl than bowling. And the West Indian cricketers of the 80s and 90s and 2000s were the perfect example of that. And if you look at guys like, they did a great thing in the latest Ashes, the highest wicket takers, how much cricket they'd played prior to the Ashes to achieve the amount of wickets. And it was like Cummins was top, Broad was second, I think Hazelwood was third, and he'd only played 3 of the matches or something. But their workloads beforehand in cricket this year were through the roof.
Pretty immense,
And these are the guys that don't get injured that much. Like Hazelwood was injured. I mean, he may have been injured early, or just maybe didn't make the first 2 test sides. There's something to be said for that.
Oh, totally. I reckon, like you said, strength and conditioning has finally become a lot more mainstream in cricket now. Like it never used to be. I think you need to kind of find a middle ground between strength and conditioning and bowling. I don't think the answer is wrapping bowlers in cotton wool and going, this is how many overs you can bowl. Today, this is how many overs you can bowl. Like, go and feel. That's my personal opinion. But I also think strength and conditioning can't just be generic. It can't just be, okay, this is the exercises you do as a fast bowler. Do these. Like, every body is different, biomechanically different. And I think you need to find those little differences in each bowler and work to their strengths, but also find out their weak points and focus on them as well.
Sure.
I think that's where potentially we could improve as a sport, as opposed to just throwing a blanket on every bowler and going, this is your generic set, this is your generic exercise, this is your generic workout, do that. as opposed to going, okay, you might have tighter hamstrings or you might have, weaker glutes. So give them more of a personalised thing.
Yeah,
I think that's where we could go improve
maybe,
a little bit.
Maybe the mistake, and I think I've made this mistake before as well, is you go, well, this is what worked for me. It should work for you, and that's that's old. It's not right. It's archaic sort of thinking.
Yeah.
So you do have to really assess where different players are at.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a bowling technique or a batting technique, right? You're not going to say, this is how you should bat, so everyone bats like this. Perfect example, Steve Smith. I mean, find what works for you, and if it works for you, then own that and just try and replicate that over and over and over again until it becomes second nature.
We might start seeing more and more players really succeed at cricket who do bat unorthodox.
Yep.
Because they find a way and they're encouraged to play their cricket that way because they do see the ball so well. They just don't look as pretty.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind Steve Smith's results not looking, and looking like that. So, So let's talk about, what about nutrition, man?
Nutrition?
What's your protocols around nutrition?
So for me, I'm I'm a massive advocate for intermittent fasting. So I intermittent fast. So I purely because of my schedule as well. So
how long for?
So I go 16 hours.
So what? 8 o'clock through to 10 or 8?
Yep. So roughly depends where my last meal is. Yeah, it depends where my last meal is, and then 16 hours from there, and then I'll eat for 8 hours. So in that window, I'll still eat like quite a big amount.
So you didn't always eat like that. It's quite a recent thing for you.
Yeah. So I've been doing it for maybe the last 4 or 5 months.
And what changes have you seen?
One, clarity, more energy, productivity, obviously fat loss and all that sort of stuff, but it was purely, I did it out of laziness. Believe it or not, I did it out of laziness because I get up relatively early in the morning and I've got a pretty full-on day with clients and whatnot. So I'm always busy. So my mornings are pretty chocker. So I don't have time to eat. So I was like, well, I'll just make it work for me. So I'm always up. Like I always try and make my lifestyle work for me. Like always trying to find these kind of life hacks, so to speak. So I was like, okay. So what I'll do is I've dabbled in fasting before. I was like, I'll just do it again. So I came back. It was when I came back from Sri Lanka. I was carrying a bit of extra pud, and I was like, I want to get rid of this pretty quickly. So I was like, I know what I'll go to. It's worked before. Go to intermittent fasting. So I'm not saying it works for everyone, but for me it worked. So 16 hours from the last meal, fast, have my clients, and then about 12:01, then I'll eat what I would have for breakfast, and then have a snack, and then dinner. So it works really well for me. If I'm playing, like say in a tournament week, then I probably wouldn't do that because I need the fuel.
So you have breakfast?
Yeah, I'll have breakfast. So like for example, Trans-Tasman before.
Will you eat high fats?
High fats and protein.
No carbs.
Try and limit carbs.
No sugar.
Yeah, no sugars. Yeah, I mean just for me, it sends my blood sugar level up and down.
Yeah. What about bananas?
Bananas, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's each to their own. I think the biggest thing for like in tournaments, like if you've been eating a certain way leading up to a tournament, don't change it drastically. You know what I mean? Like if you're supposed to be eating healthy throughout a tournament, but you're not used to eating healthy, then don't change it. Because it's probably going to have more of an adverse effect. Just stick to what you know. Like when you go into a tournament, you want to try and limit things that could go wrong, right? You're trying to zone in on what you're trying to achieve and make it really streamlined. So in a tournament, I'll only eat the stuff that I'd usually eat. I am guilty though if there's like lollies and stuff like that. I'll be my hand will be the first one in there, because I don't usually eat that shit. So so when I see it, I'm just
How dare you, sir?
So like my eyes light up when I see all that sort of stuff. But I think you just got to find what works for you. Really, find what works for you. Can be a bit of trial and error, but.
Have you tried the ketogenic diet?
I have. I've dabbled in it.
Find that?
Oh, it's good. It's good. I think the biggest thing is just, most people, I'm putting my work hat on now, like most people kind of will stop before they see the results, because we kind of live in this world of instant gratification. Everyone wants everything yesterday. Well, they want to achieve everything yesterday, right? So they want instant results.
You can get results quite quick for ketogenic.
You can. Yep.
Do you take ketones to get yourself into ketosis, or do you just try and do it naturally?
No, just rely on naturally. Yeah, naturally,
and then you're high fats, high protein, and pretty much zero. Well, 20 grams of carbs a day or something, which is pretty much zero.
very minimal, and more fats than protein.
And the clarity of your thoughts, it's a different energy, right? Like it's
totally.
just really calm, relaxed, but really focused sort of energy rather than that sugary, spiky, sort of hazy. And you don't realize it until you've actually experienced that other sort of energy level. And using your body's fat as energy source is amazing, man. It's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I assume, obviously, from what you've said, you've done it before as well.
I have. So it was actually a year ago, pretty much for this tournament. So I didn't play too much indoor last season. Only played at the back end for some various reasons. And I turned up at the Nationals, and I played all right, but I was I was overweight by quite a bit. Yeah. And after that tournament, I thought, gee, I've got to do something here. Really foggy, hazy, bad memory. It was just getting worse, and I just kind of thought, geez, it's going to be a really slippery slope to become a couch potato really for the rest of my life. So I kind of thought, right, well, if I'm going to play indoor next year, I've got to get fitter. I'm going to have to really change some things around. It was actually about this time last year I started listening to podcasts. Yeah. And that's probably quite well known, but I'm a massive fan of Joe Rogan. Yeah. And he's pretty much got me into doing this sort of thing. And he has just got some amazing guests on, man, and a lot of them are around nutrition, around guys like sleep doctors, and just doing things better for your body and life longevity, which was just it's just a huge life extension. So that's such an amazing topic for me to listen to. And so I've just started picking all this information out, and ketogenic diet was one of them. And I kind of thought, I'm going to give that a go, see how it goes. So I started skipping breakfast. I had dinners at sort of maybe 7:30 latest in the evening. Nothing more that night, and then probably wouldn't eat till around about 11 o'clock the next day, and that'd be a protein bar, a protein shake, or something like that. I'd have a black coffee in the morning with MCT oil, so coconut oil, but I'd be taking ketones in the morning. So I'd be taking BHB powder tablets. And it wasn't long before, it was maybe 3 or 4 days, 5 days, it sort of felt a little bit weird. But after that, all of a sudden, you just got this clarity. You just like in the morning, you'd be at work and you go, you're not tired, you're not hungry, you don't even feel like eating. You sort of got to force that protein shake down you, and then you have some lunch and you're really enjoying it, you don't eat too much. It just completely changes the way your body starts operating. And then, because I haven't taken sugars for quite a long time now, apart from red wine, your body actually starts not feeling so good when you take it. So you're forced away from that a little bit, and you want more salads and you want more healthy stuff, and your palate changes.
It's funny, isn't it?
It's amazing, man. And
well, that clarity, like you say, you have to experience it for yourself to kind of understand it. You know what I mean? Because you can say it to someone who's never experienced it, and it's just kind of mumbo jumbo. But once you've experienced it yourself, it's like hard to go back. And that clarity is that productivity, and just the energy that you have. The only thing I can relate it to is after meditating for me. And that's the only kind of thing I can draw back on, is that's the similarity between the two.
How long do you meditate for?
I always, without a doubt, will do half an hour a day.
Okay.
A day.
When do you do that?
First thing in the morning.
Oh, wow.
First thing in the morning. Okay. So as soon as I wake up, it's the first thing I do.
Do you use an app for that? Or
nah, I just try and be silent. Yeah.
And you've got your own word triggers in your mind? Or is it a complete nothing in your head sort of meditation? Or?
So what I tend to do, so I was fortunate enough to go to a meditation retreat in Thailand how long ago now? 4 or 5 years ago with Lulu.
Yeah.
And we studied meditation, and you do these things, and you come back to the real world, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll see if I can implement it back in. Half the time you never do. But I was fortunate enough. This is one thing I really wanted to keep implementing into my day, and it's just a game changer. Right? It's an absolute game changer. So, because in this, you're always attached to your smartphone, or there's always people wanting to talk to you, all this sort of stuff. You just need some time away from everything and just to detach. And for me, it's just getting up early before no one else is up, and just be in the now. And for me, it's just getting my mindset right for the rest of the day. So if I can have that half an hour to myself, and it's just be be there and just focus on your breathing, your own thoughts, like acknowledge the thoughts and let them pass through, as opposed to giving them too much meaning without sounding too hairy-fairy. But that's what I love to do. Just sit there, listen to my breathing, feel my breathing, listen to my thoughts, and then just be present, and then just set myself up for the day, know what I'm trying to achieve that day, know what I'm trying to achieve, long term. Just go over your goals and just reflect and kind of be grateful, and just a sense of gratitude. And then that starts my day really well. So half an hour, boom, and then I'm ready to go, ready to hit the ground running. That gives me so much energy. Only way I can describe it is like it's probably like a power nap whilst being like conscious. You're having a power nap, but you're still awake, if that makes sense. Yep. That's the only way I can kind of describe it. And that's probably the similar feeling I have when you eat well, or you fast, or you're on the keto. So yeah.
So as far as because like I had, do you stuff around with like mushrooms or anything like that? So not psychedelics. That's coming up in another episode. No, but there's healthy mushrooms like lion's mane mushrooms and nootropics and stuff like that. Have you ever experimented any of that?
I haven't.
So that's one of the other things that I had, like, so a year ago. It's actually over the past few years I've had some real issues with memory recall.
Yeah.
To the point where I thought, geez, if this continues, I'll probably have to start seeing a doctor about it and just understanding whether something more dangerous or concerning is going to come up.
Yeah.
And so my memory's all there.
Yeah.
So if I'm speaking to someone, oh, you remember that day that you got spanked for 100 off 2 overs and for $2?
Yeah.
I'll remember it.
Yeah. I want to remember it now.
Yeah,
I'll
probably try and forget it, put it in the back. Yeah. I'll remember those games or those events or something like that. Apart from the big, real trauma events in life, death and all that sort of thing, you'll always remember that stuff. It's pretty easy to recall. But just different things like that, I'd have a real tough time in recalling myself.
Yeah.
And so I really want to do what I could around that. And obviously listening to a lot of Joe's guests that he has on, it talks a lot about nootropics and memory and how things you can take in your body can really help in these sort of things. So it's really interesting to hear what mushrooms can do around like lion's mane mushrooms and what's some other stuff. Just I'm taking omega-3 fatty acids, so fish oils and stuff like that. I take a lot of those now. Yep. And taking a product from a company called On It, which is called Alpha Brain.
Yeah.
So it's got a whole range of different things in there. And what Alpha Brain does for you is about half an hour after taking it, it's a powder form, and you take in just some water and drink.
Is it a plug or not?
Sorry?
Is this
no, it's not. It's definitely not a plug. No, not sponsored yet. So that gives you just a really relaxed calmness. Yep. And I've actually taken it before this, so it keeps you're energized and you're really focused and clear, but it just keeps you really well balanced. Instead of that real fiery like pre-workout stuff that you can take. Yeah. A company BSC Body Science. So a friend of mine actually brings that stuff into New Zealand and looks after Mike. He's a bodybuilder doing really well. Mike Kingsnorth. Yeah.
Kingsnorth. Sorry.
Great guy. He's awesome. So they've just brought out a new product. It's a pre-workout. It's actually what's a body thermogenic. Yeah. But you can use it as a pre-workout as well. Yeah. It's called Ultra Shred. Yeah. So it's a step up from their pre-workout formula they used to have, and that's got nootropic in it now. Okay. So it actually helps with that mind clarity and just helps you. Look, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. So it's just what I do. It's really really cool stuff. And I've got to say that. After sort of 12 months of just looking after that brain health, the gut microbiome, we haven't even gone there yet, but I've certainly been taking a lot of that probiotics and stuff to help my gut biome. Just so much more clarity, and I would say that I'm remembering a whole bunch of 100 cricket games, but it just that clarity really is there. It's amazing.
Well, I think it was Hippocrates who said, "Let thy food be thy medicine be thy food." You know what I mean? And I think whatever you put into your body is going to be reflected. You know, not just aesthetically, but you know how you feel. You know, and there's so many benefits to eating the right food, exercising. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a big advocate for that purely because that's my profession. But I think anyone can benefit from it. It doesn't have to be elite athletes or people that play sport, just anyone in general, it's about feeling better, feeling better, because if you feel better, you're going to enjoy life so much more, perform at your best, whatever you're doing, So.
Didn't do the haka.
No, we didn't do the haka.
Is that a team decision?
Yeah, so we'll kind of, we'll split. Some guys wanted to do the haka, some people didn't. Lee and Rowdy said to me that I can make the final decision, so when we were in Singapore, I put it to the vote. Some of them wanted to do it, some didn't. And
what were the reasons, do you think, behind the guys who wanted to do it?
Well, they enjoy it. I mean, that brings out a lot of passion. It fires them up. Obviously, it's a massive privilege to be able to perform a haka as well. So some people haven't performed it before, so they wanted to perform it. But for me, I think I would love to do it. Don't get me wrong. I would love to do the haka.
You're very good at it.
Thank you. I would love to do the haka, but I'd love to do it as an acknowledgement once we've won something. So it's kind of changing like the Sevens do, right? As opposed to doing it pre-game.
You're changing the use of it.
Changing the use of it. More of a celebratory kind of way of using it, as opposed to before a game or anything like that. I'd rather us just focus on cricket, performing on the court, and then when we win something, using it as a celebration. Just to say thank you, because obviously there's a lot of meanings behind it, saying thank you to the opposition, but also to the fans and everything like that.
That's a good thought. I really like that.
Because I think you can potentially, I'm not saying it's been overused in sporting, in sport, but I think if you overdo it, it loses its meaning. It's just done for the spectacle as opposed to the meaning. And I mean, you have to give it respect, the respect it deserves by one, doing it properly, but obviously the meaning behind it all. So for the way I see it is you want to give it the respect, but you also don't want to do it because people want to see the haka. That's not the right reason to do it.
Wrong reason.
You want to do it because it means something to you. And I feel like if we win something, if we win the World Cup next year, then we'll do it then. Not saying we won't do it before then, but if we win the World Cup, we'll definitely do it towards the fans and the opposition, just as a thank you. So that's the way I'm leaning towards it.
It's a great take on it, man. I think we probably have similar thoughts on it. I've been in sides before where you've sort of got maybe 6 or 7 guys who are really keen to do it.
Yeah.
And it's been done because that's sort of like the expected thing.
Yeah.
When I have done it, it's been an absolute privilege to do it. But then you've sort of got 3 or 4 guys in a team that haven't bought into it.
Yeah.
And they're doing it because they have to do it, because they've been told to do it.
Yeah.
But they're not. You sort of feel like it's not being done for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Trans-Tasman Masters 2 years ago down in Tauranga. And I think the same deal for the World Cup in Birmingham as well. The year prior to that, there was the talk of haka needs to be done.
Yeah.
You sort of get around the group, and first of all, this is only my opinion, but I don't think Masters games should be called Test matches. And it's country versus country, and that's fine. But Test matches are the highest level. That's the test. It's called a test. You're testing yourself at the highest level of a sport. You're not saying that in Masters cricket. I respect Masters. I think it's amazing. I'm really privileged to have been a part of it. I wish I could be part of it going forward as well. But I think I'm sort of going off on a tangent here away from the haka, but just I don't think that those should be labelled test matches. And to my point, you sort of look at guys who maybe haven't played for New Zealand because they weren't good enough to play Open Men's, but they've made Masters for whatever reasons. And then they feel like, oh, this is my only opportunity to do the haka.
Yeah.
Wrong reason.
Wrong
reason. Yes, of course you want to do the haka. Totally understand that. You're representing your country at a level. but that's the wrong reason to be wanting to do a haka.
It is totally.
And so, you know, I'm really glad that we pulled away from that. And I think it was a general feeling, especially for the 35s anyway. I can't talk for the other teams, but I don't think doing the haka was a good call.
Well, and that's also, like, for some players that haven't played Test match cricket before, you know, playing a big game against Australia and whatnot, you don't want to have to worry about performing the haka, you know. You want to focus on performance on the court, focus on hitting the ball, fielding well, bowling well. You know, you don't want to make it any bigger than it is. You know, you don't want to make them have to worry about anything else. You know, we want to kind of simplify it and just focus on performing. So that's another reason why as well. You know, I just want
people don't realise how much it takes out of you, how much energy it drives up in your body when you do it. I've seen guys cry after the haka. They're about to go out and bat. Against Australia. You know, it's like, you know, what worse timing for such an amazing thing to do. Whereas, you know, to your idea, doing it after a performance and respecting everyone around you, the people who are there to support you, your teammates, your opposition, everyone involved, and you do it after that event, and then you can let your emotions flow. You can suck it all in and take it all in. Like I've nearly welled up at watching a haka. Like, it's an amazing event.
Oh, it's incredible.
A huge amount of respect for it, and I'm just you know, I respect your take on it, and that you know, I just time and place.
And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying that's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. And like I said, some others might have different opinions, but I just think whatever the non-negotiable is, you have to do it justice. But you also have to respect it. Respect what it means, you know. And when you respect that, you put all into it. You know, you put your all into it, and you live and breathe those actions. You live and breathe those words. You know, and you have to realize what it all means. As opposed to it's just a, you know, it's a war dance and you jump and belt it out as much as you can. That's not doing it justice as far as I'm concerned. So,
do you remember when you first started playing indoor?
I do. When I was having this chat with Stacey over Trans-Tasman, and I think when I first started playing indoor, I was at Avondale Primary School. This was when I first started playing indoor. Avondale Primary School. My team was called the Top Hats, and his mum was the coach, and Stacey and I were playing together, and we played at Western on Veronica Street. We were playing like an inter-school competition, and you would play the Friday nights, you know, World Series League and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely loved it. So that was my first taste of indoor cricket, and then, well, junior indoor cricket and indoor cricket in general. But then senior cricket, I think, would have been in 2008 or 9, I think it was. I think it was 7 or 8, 2007 or 8.
Feels like you've been around longer than that.
I know it does, man. It does. I know. How old does that make you feel, mate?
A little bit. It's a little bit.
But yeah, I think
32,
33. Must be moisturising, mate. That's so good. And I always played for Central. And I just remember when I first started, just how intense it was. You know, people in your face. And you know, you get out and you feel like the walls are caving in, and then people are going at you again, and you know, if you get out again, it's near 10 all of a sudden, and you just. But that's what I loved about the sport. You know, it could go either way, and just how confrontational it was. You know, I mean, not in a bad way, but just the pressure was always on, and the game was always live. You know, one mistake, and all of a sudden that could be the game potentially, or you know, just the intensity of it, the confrontation of it, the speed of it. But also you get the camaraderie that you get with your mates. You know, when you play any team sport. But I think I just love the tight knit feel of an indoor team. You know, you're all in the same court in such a close vicinity. As with any team sport, you're working towards a common goal. But I don't know, indoor just will always have a special place in my heart. And I just fell in love with it the first time I played. And yeah, I think it always will do. I just absolutely love the sport.
It's the nature of the four walls on a roof. Yeah, it's like you say, it's such a close proximity. The physical nature of those, it's like a cage. It is a combat zone almost, you know. And you certainly felt like that, you know. Maybe not so much. Maybe because I'm a bit older now, but certainly when I first started, it was scary. You know, like especially if you if you're limited with the bat, like I used to be, and having these guys at you and letting you know just how good you are or not so good, it's a combat zone, man.
Yeah, man. I remember the first game, first season I played of men's cricket, and it was I remember vividly this game we played against Saints. I think it was Dean Hellier who was keeping. I think it was.
He's pretty good with the
He
lips,
was. Was he? What? And I was just a young, but I think I was only 18 or something like that. God, he was telling me how shit I was and how bad I was and how I couldn't hit the ball. I mean, he was 100% correct. Don't get me wrong. And then we had, I think, and Dean Bruce was bowling. Dean Bruce was bowling, and these guys are legends of the games. Legends of the game. And you got, I can't remember who else it was, but you were playing Saints, and they were just telling me how shit I was, and then you start to believe it, you're like getting it left, right, and centre. You're like, oh yeah, I am pretty shit here, and then all of a sudden you're -5, then -10, -15. You're like, oh my god, the walls are caving in. And that was my first ever memory of playing senior cricket, and I was petrified. And then bowling didn't go that well either, and it was a horrible game. I remember it was like a -20. I think I scored. It was my first ever game for like senior cricket, but I loved it. I loved the feeling.
You wanted back in.
I wanted back in. It was weird. It was weird. So it was a love-hate relationship, as with cricket. Outdoor cricket as well. But I did so badly. But part of me just wanted to get back in it. And just try and prove these people wrong. And I loved that, like I said, that confrontation of knowing that you could sledge people and you get in people's faces and the intensity of it in such a confined space.
Competition.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I sort of feel like with outdoor, they always talk about you'll fail more than you'll succeed, a lot more than you'll ever succeed, especially as a batter. But indoor's not like that. Indoor, you got a real opportunity every week, and I think that it's at that sort of level where if you train really hard and work really hard, you can become quite successful quite quickly.
Yeah, agreed.
You listen and you learn to people who can really play the game and have got great awareness of the game, and you're willing to learn from that. You can actually become quite good quite quickly.
Agreed.
And, maybe that's one of the beauties of the sport as well. It's amazing. I said this to Hendo as well. In our last podcast, it was just seeing all the juniors that are coming through, and this year especially is it's great. It's just so cool for indoor cricket, man. And then watching at the Trans-Tasman, watching the 22 girls and the 22 boys. The 22 girls, especially after the first game, I thought, wow, they're a long way away from the Aussies, and they're just so much more drilled and look like they've been playing the game for maybe 3 or 4 years longer, and it really showed. But then after game 2, they came back and just lost it. Game 3, they won it, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think I've got that right anyway. I'm sorry girls if I haven't, but just the way that they closed that gap so quickly.
It's amazing what belief can do, right?
Well, it's belief,
confidence,
and the ability to look at something and go, well, yeah, they're wearing a green shirt, which for a lot of people is a real barrier, a visual barrier.
Massively,
they just went, so what?
Yeah.
So what, see ball, hit ball, or whatever, and Robin James and Jess Ramage must have just done an amazing job with those girls, and the belief system, and I was just really proud to see how
they came back from that.
They came back from that, and it was a 4-1 loss, but they won so much more out of that, it's just amazing. And the 22 boys, to me, were a better side, so I saw quite a lot of those games, and they had that final game, the fourth game, which they should have won, and they, I think, just got the Australia fear factor on them, and it's a big hurdle to learn how to beat the best, and Australia hold that title in all the grades, and I likened it to watching maybe an Ireland play All Blacks for so many years, and finally just finding a way to win that first Test match, and say we can beat it. We've proven that, not just saying, but believing and showing that they can actually step over the mark and win that Test match. And we sort of are getting there. Maybe the boys just had that fear factor, the women as well in their grade of that last match. Just Australia stepped it up, and then New Zealand didn't have the ability or the knowledge or the belief. I don't know. I don't really want to put a label on it, but it's just that final hurdle of wrestling back that ability, that wrestling back that momentum in the game to to win the match, and take that final step.
Yeah. I mean, I think what was so pleasing was to see how all 4 grades. I'm not going to say competing, because when I say competed with them, I feel like we kind of label ourselves as inferior to them, and that's the last thing I want. I mean, I respect Australia immensely as an indoor cricketing nation.
Absolutely.
Of course, I mean they're world champions in all four grades, but I think what it showed over that Trans-Tasman weekend was how much the gap has been bridged, and how good we are.
I don't think there is a gap.
Agreed.
Men's and women's, I don't think there is a gap anymore, and I think they think that.
Agreed.
I think they're really worried about the World Cup next
after
year.
talking to a lot of the Australian players and how much respect they had for us and how complimentary they were of how well we played, I totally agree with you. I don't think there is a gap as such, but I think there's always obviously room for improvement. But I feel in years previously there's always been this fear factor of Australia, but there isn't anymore. It's we are good enough, we are better, and we're starting to believe that a lot more. And if we gained anything from that Trans-Tasman series, it's all 4 teams going, yeah, we are. Shit, yeah, we are. And we're good enough to win a World Cup. As opposed to just being lip service, we've gone and done it now. And I mean, I can only speak for the men's team, but the belief was always there that we were good enough to win that series. Unfortunately, we lost 2 games by less than 5 runs. So it could have gone either way, easily gone either way. But that belief is there, and it will always be there that we're good enough to beat them and beat them in a big game, in a World Cup game. So I'm really excited for the World Cup, mate. Really excited for the World Cup. Just knowing that we are good enough, and we're just going to prove it now. We're just going to prove it when it counts.
So the hardest thing when you're on top of the world, mate, as a player, which you are right now, and I know you won't like hearing that, but I think I'm probably in a position where I'm allowed to label you that. What do you do? Because it's hardest to be on top of the world and stay there as a player, it's harder to stay up there. It's very easy to come back down quite quickly. So you've got quite a big challenge now, heading into next year. What are the sort of things that are going through? I mean, I know it's early. What are the things that you think that you can concentrate on and step up?
The boys will laugh when I say this, but just be better, because that was my kind of mantra throughout the whole of Trans-Tasman, is just be better, be tougher, be better, and don't be complacent. Don't settle for where you're at. Always constantly improve, because the way I see it, if you're not progressing or improving, you're going backwards, right? And that's what I want to do as a player, but as a team. Honestly, mate, I am so passionate about this team that we have, this squad, this unit. Like, we just want to be better as players, but also as a group. The culture that we've created is fantastic, because when there's adversity, you fall back on that culture, and that culture is so strong now. But you're going back to your question about what I'm going to do. I just want to be better, mate. I'll look at what I could have done better and improve on that, improve on my strengths. Keep, I guess, testing myself as to how I can evolve the game. I'm a big advocate for that.
In what way?
So I think
leadership, captaincy, game plans.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to be the best leader you can be, the best captain you can be, game plans. Lee and Rowdy are fantastic with that sort of stuff. They were phenomenal in terms of what they've done, and I don't think people realise how much work coaches do behind the scenes, especially at that level. I mean, they would be up, 1, 2 a.m. Every night, just kind of planning and everything like that, and up with selections and whatnot. It's not an easy job, and I'm so much respect and kudos for those two, because they work their backside off, and so did Tony Watkins. So they work their asses off through that Trans-Tasman and prior to that as well. And I'm sure they will for the next tour and the World Cup. I know they're already planning. But I think leadership, you always, as soon as you stop learning, there's no point in doing it. You always want to get the best out of your players. That's why I love being a captain, is just trying to get the best out of every single player. And it's something about kind of leading a group towards a common goal. Absolutely love that. Just trying to get everyone up and try and get everyone on the same page. And I believe we all are. Yes, we were for the Trans-Tasman. We didn't get the result we want, but we're on the same page for this World Cup. We want to win the first World Cup for New Zealand men's side. But also, when I say evolving, I'm talking game wise as well. What can you do to push the envelope? You probably noticed, during Trans-Tasman, I kind of wanted to just play without fear, because a traditional opener would just play it safe and twos and whatnot. And
not me, son.
Nah, not you, mate. No, it's a traditional over. You're not a traditional over, mate.
I get a lot of shit.
I know you do. I know you do. I know you do. But remember that Super League final, that one that you hit the 7. No, it was a semi-final. Sorry, semi-final against Saints.
I've got no memory.
Yeah. See, I remember other people's games, but I don't remember my games.
Yeah, you can remember mine.
Yeah. I think it was a 7 off the last ball. I think it was off your batting 4. Was it?
Could have done.
Yeah. I can't remember what
it
happened.
wasn't the last over.
Yeah. But I mean, just how much that swings momentum, and I've been guilty in the past of looking for that shot, looking to hit the back net, and that's where I got myself in trouble.
Downfall.
And that's where I got myself in trouble. Is I try to go for it and try and look for it, whereas now I've been able to know when the right ball, or know which ball to go for. And I think that's what's changed massively in terms of my batting and how I bat in a partnership, is knowing that I can down up on both sides, but also when the opportunity presents itself, train yourself enough to know that you can still hit that even under pressure. And I think that's where you try to evolve yourself, is do all those things under immense pressure. So when the going gets tough, you've trained so much that you can pull it off because you've done it over time and time again. But you hit a back net. How much does that shift the momentum, especially in a game of indoor, where indoor is momentum based?
6 ball overs,
mate. It's momentum based. How many times have you seen a team be negated of wickets and their heads just to drop in the first 4 or 8 overs? The game's done. Our teams wait for that over. Wait for a wicket, and then all of a sudden they cock a hoop again and they're back into it. But if you can, flip that around in your batting, you go in twos, ones, bang it up, and then all of a sudden you hit a back net, all of a sudden their heads drop even more. But it's just making sure you don't go searching for it. That's the way I like, when I say evolve, that's what I'm looking to do, is just how can you shift momentum even more in a game of indoor cricket without being reckless. And I think probably easier to do when you're batting than bowling wise. Obviously you're trying to get wickets when you're bowling, but or setting up, putting dots. But I think from a batting perspective, I think that is where the game could be potentially evolving to. You look at T20 cricket, openers, openers used to just try and, we had fielding restrictions, just get, a few runs off the first 15, try not to lose any wickets, and then they brought the power plays in, and all of a sudden you got these opening batters that are trying to, pump it from ball 1. I'm not saying you're trying to do that in indoor, but I think there's also a conservative approach. There's a different mindset of going, don't lose wickets and score as many runs as you can. I think when you're looking at trying to score as many runs as you can, you're always focusing on the next ball. If you're trying to not get out, your mindset's completely different. You start, being tentative at the ball. You start going, when you're running between the wickets, you get the yes, no, and then you're out. When you try and score as many runs as you can, you always have that intent every time you bat, So if it is a half volley, you're going to put it away. If it's a down up, you down it up it. If it's a good ball, you still try and down up it. Just trying to score as many runs as you can. That's my philosophy anyway.
I was, being the commentating in that series of yours, specifically for the men's, the New Zealand side in the first test really showed the way for the rest of the series, and the Aussies saw that. So I spoke to Rob Fitzgerald after the second test, where they dominated you guys and played exceptionally well. Really stepped up a level, and they started with the bowling, and they went full at middle stump. It's basically their MO. So they did what they did with the ball or whatever, but basically they were full at middle stump for the most part, and they copied what you guys had done. And I don't know, I haven't spoken to you or Lee or Rowdy about whether that was the game plan. But my thoughts were that you guys wanted to be fuller rather than shorter. And I think guys like Mitch Gardner, Braden Gardner, especially Corey Perrott, really exposed that sort of length really, really well. And they were very successful at what they did. And Australia saw that and evolved immediately, stepped up a level in intensity and dominated you guys and really struggled to come back. And then this is what I loved about the series is that, come the next test, it was a completely brand new situation. And, in my wrap-up of that second test, I said, that'll never happen to you and Kieran again. That won't happen again. and it didn't. You guys stepped up a level. You expected to have the ball very full, and what you did is came out and you went, well, I'm going to dominate you. You're not going to dominate me there like you did the last test by pitching it up. I'm going to hit you hard. And if I get away with it, look out, I'm going to get some runs, and you did. And then the Aussies tried to do that because you guys went full and straight at them again. And Fitzy was trying to do it, and he wasn't getting away with it. And you started putting pressure. I think that, to Fitzy's defence a little bit, he had a partner batting with him that was getting wrapped up, and you guys knew how to bowl to him. And if you guys didn't know, I was going to tell you because I was watching him in the Nationals. So I'm sure really good scouting there. Ryan Dowles, and he's just friended me on Facebook as well. I really appreciate it, Ryan. But you wrapped them up really, really well, and they put a lot of pressure back on Fitzy because he's used to a guy at the other end, and Vinesh Bennett getting that back to the other end and putting Fitzy back on strike again, and that wasn't happening. And so Fitzy saw full toss or full bungers and half volleys, and he was going to bang you for runs, and you guys were fielding it. So you started putting a lot of pressure on their running game plans, and they weren't scoring runs regularly. And then when a wicket came along with dots and ones in between it, you did a lot of damage with them, and you restricted them really well. And that just kept going. That kept going through the rest of the Test series. And to your point on evolving and bringing through different game plans, I think the length of bowling is going to become absolutely key, because if you are full at middle stump and swinging it round, and then you throw in an off pace, well pitched off cutter, or that second delivery that most bowlers have got, and you're accurate with it, you become very, very hard to score runs against. I don't care whether you can down up over legs, over off all day. When the bowling is that variable and that accurate, it runs become very, very hard. And you might get ones, you might get the odd two, you have a few dots, you can't afford to get out. The 6 ball overs are going to hurt you. I agree. And I think with our bowling attack, like the firepower that we possess in our men's team, we try and take wickets. There's, we talk about trying to create momentum with the bat. At a fielding unit, you're trying to take wickets, right? And there's certain plans you have for certain batters and whatnot. But as soon as you're at the top of your mark, it's your responsibility to bring the team into the game, right? So you need to bowl the right areas. I'm not going to say where we're trying to bowl because I don't want to, Houdini doesn't reveal his secrets, mate. But I mean as a fielding unit, as a bowling unit, we know exactly where we need to bowl, and what we're trying to do for certain players. And when you got the ball in your hand, that is your responsibility. I think that's one thing we've definitely, harnessed, is going, okay, the responsibility is on me. When you got the ball in your hand, you need to bowl here or here or here, wherever we've been told to bowl. Bring the fielders into play, and then that's when you can build that momentum, right? But I think the game will evolve in terms. I think spin will be. I think in maybe 5-6 years, I think spin will play a bigger part than. I agree. I just think the subcontinent teams, like we found when we went to Singapore, the tweakers from India, Sri Lanka, they were very successful. Even Singapore, the tweakers from those subcontinent teams were really successful, because it is hard to play. You're used to the ball coming on. So if you get a decent spinner who can bowl decent areas, they'll be harder to play. But once again, you have to stay ahead of that and train against decent spinners. So you can cover every base. So you can bat against guys that bowl out swing, in swing, cutters, and then face guys that can bowl spin. I think as a player, you're just trying to make sure you cover every base, so you have very minimal weaknesses. Cool, man. We might wrap this up. I think it's an hour 20, man. That's pretty good effort, bro. Well, maybe a little bit less than that, but it's been cool to talk to you, man. Likewise, and I hope we can get together again and have another episode at some stage. It'd be cool. Bro, maybe sure. I don't know. We'll get into something maybe beginning of next season. See how your training's going and see how your preparation's going.
Sounds good,
I'm
man.
still available, so
good
maybe Lee and Kelly might. Rowdy might be keen on a 46-year-old playing. Who knows?
Well, you've got to play more than one game in this tournament, mate, to be available.
That's probably it. I have to get selected for provincials. That's cool, man. Appreciate it, bro. Really awesome, man. It was really, really cool.
Cheers, bro.
Awesome, man.